So we need to vote for Tony. Nays? Everybody's unanimous, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Next to Joe. Joe Judas has been nominated for the position of Vice President of Heritage Ridge North. Do any of the board members have any questions for Joe? No. Joe, would you like to make a statement?
No, it's fine.
All right, Joe.
Okay, let's vote for Joe
Tony,
as
speak for me.
Vice President. Okay. Unanimous?
Unanimous.
Okey-dokey. Matt, excuse me, Matt Sullivan has been nominated for the position of President of Heritage Ridge North. Do any board members have any questions for Matt? No. Matt, do you have any statement you'd like to make?
Yeah, I do. I got a text literally a week ago today. Came from a phone number, not an individual. So I've actually tried to find out who sent it, because it really was an attention getter for me. And actually, whoever sent it knows me. And that's why it really kind of hit home, because there's things that were said that if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know them. So I want to read this to you, because I think this expresses where I am with respect to this community better than anything. And by the way, I'll accept the nomination. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "My friend Matt, I want to say this to you, but not quite sure how you will receive it, so text it is. Life is so very short, too short. Did you imagine dealing with such POA garbage in retirement after losing your beautiful daughter so cruelly? Is this how you want to live out all you worked so hard for? You've done a great job with the pipe work and other things. Let that be your legacy. You won't get this time in your life back. Is this what Joe wants to live through? Isn't the golf course calling you? The beach? New hobbies? You own nothing, but you're wasting everything. Nothing of your retirement time are being squandered, and for what? Your family needs you. Be sensible with the time you have left on this planet. You had a close call to join him above. God can be cruel and give no notice." Again, I got that from somebody, and if I'm shaking now, it hit home. And
Wow.
finish, Joe, I'm gonna leave.
Thanks, Matt.
They don't do that.
Makes you think, doesn't it? I did not know about this before, and I knew he was gonna make a statement, and leave. I didn't know what the statement was. So I guess that hand is, it went over for Matt as president for one more year.
Well, he loves to do it.
I don't know how he got through reading it.
This is probably gonna be his last year.
He had to do it.
If they know him, it comes across as being supportive and wanting to do yourself a favor, but it's cruel.
Yeah, so supportive with a slap at the end.
It's cruel.
But I think this is his last year. And, I think he's had enough. And I think the one thing that has to happen for whoever takes that job next, which is Matt does a lot of, he answers every question and deals with every issue, when a lot of the times he should say, it's not an HOA issue, I can't help it. And I think if we all start kind of working towards that, start trying to solve things at the lowest level, and not let things get out of hand and get involved in every single situation the way Matt has, I think everyone's life will be a little simpler.
I have to agree. I mean, I've been involved in many homeowners, and people forget that all of us here are homeowners, and we want everything. We want everything good to come out, and that's what we're working for. So sometimes people don't get that, they think that the board is just trying to hurt them, but we're not, we're just trying to do the job so that we can live in peace.
It's all volunteer, I think people forget that. No one's getting
We're not,
anything
no
for
one's
doing
getting
this.
paid.
Right, no one's getting paid, and it can be a lot of heartache, and it can be a lot of calls and things that really should never happen.
And you need to come to the meetings to know what's going on.
Right.
There are a lot of people out there, I don't meet people here, because I see people here that have been a lot, but we're living in Jamestown, they don't know anything. You need to come to the meetings so you can find out.
Yeah, that's,
You
we
know?
have a massive problem with that in Yorktown as
Yeah.
well.
Well, and
Everybody's got a complaint, but nobody
Yeah,
wants to
nobody
be
wants to,
part of it.
yeah, when I went around looking for names to, we were gonna change the regulation.
One more
Oh, I
thing.
don't do that. Well, you don't do that, you live here.
We can do one more thing before we adjourn.
Go ahead.
Tomorrow is the annual meeting. We don't have a quorum at this point, so if you know anybody who you know isn't coming, they haven't done a proxy, and we only have, okay, I'll take what you have.
And that's at the
But-
fire department, not the library.
No,
Why
there's
else-
a
You
book.
mean it's not at the poll?
Well, that's what we're telling you now.
And actually, I think I
Where do
was
you
put
go
on
in
the
on the
meeting, so
fire
it's
department?
on the
I think the door is in the
Because I
front
had
corner, I think,
my
towards.
license
towards the
without-
wall.
Towards Route 1?
Yeah.
Can you park there?
Well, depending on how many people come, yeah, you can park there, just don't, you know, as long as there's no restrictions, no signs.
You know what they
You
said?
can probably park at the driving range. But if we don't have a quorum, that won't be an official meeting, I just will still have the meeting.
I thought I did. I thought I sent it to you.
So if you can bring some proxies with you, you might have enough time. Boy, it's easy to control this group. Someone wanna make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second
Okay,
motion.
excuse me. Debbie made a motion, Deborah, to adjourn, and Paul seconded.
All right, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
See some of you tomorrow.
I'm not giving my folder back, I have too much.
I'll
I'll give it back.
Hi.
You took this glass of milk and did that to him?
No,
He's right outside.
No.
Well, he's right out there.
Not yet.
yeah. I think we should.
It's just if you wanna do like our windows.
Well, kind of like spread it all out. Just put it out.
Tool in the box, if you wanna, again, I look at it as more of a deterrent. Give everybody the opportunity, give them as many warnings as you can, but at some point, enough is enough. So anyhow, I've said enough about that. So you'd like to do
I'd like to present this to the fine committee.
to the board.
To the board.
So you make a motion to,
On that, may I say something? We can't really, well, we really need the owner's name, the unit number, just.
you have that, you have the owner's name in it?
Well, we should all have.
He has all that, he confirms it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want that?
We have a whole.
He'll give us the documentation, we can read it into the minutes.
Yeah, his name is Craig Munger.
You're gonna have to pass it to me,
Okay.
figuring out how to spell things and do stuff.
Also sent him registered letters too.
Okay, did you wanna read the guy's name and so the board knows?
I talked about, so don't think about it.
Do you want the board to know?
Yeah, the guy, his name is Craig Munger, he lives in Tampa, and then we have the unit number, and we don't really care what the tenant's name is, right?
Not really, the tenant's name is there in
So
that
this is all the backup we have, I guess, in there. Okay. So
Okay.
I'll put this in the minutes.
So there's a motion?
All right, so Kevin's made the motion, is there a second?
I sent it.
Connie? All in favor of levying the fine? Opposed? Is that a
Nobody
yes? I'm
opposed?
sorry.
No,
I'm
no.
not for that.
Okay. Okay. moving on.
Can I keep this or you want it back?
No,
I
that's
just
for you.
need it from- Okay.
That's your copy.
Okay, we're talking about the elections. There were, actually 5, there were 4 communities, Georgetown, Jamestown, Quincy, and Torrey, who had to renew, their representation on the board, or have new. As it turned out, the 4 members who were previous members of the board will continue, okay? So Connie, thank you and welcome again, and Rich, and Carol Ann, and Joe. Paul Mallon, as I understand it, was elected as the representative of Jamestown. And he will, Amherst. I'm sorry, I know. Amherst. I don't know why I can't get that off my mind. His term, because it's to fill another, I don't want to get into it. His term expires in 2025. Everybody else's expires in 2026. Having said that, going forward, for the record, next year, the Association of Communities of Charleston, Franklin, Lexington, and Williamsburg are up for renewal.
Williamsburg also had elections this year.
Pardon?
They had elections this year too, for 3 board members.
This is the board, this is you,
Just
buddy.
the rep.
This is a real, this is for you.
Just the
The annual, everybody's individual communities boards they're different. I mean, a lot of people are elected for 1 or 2 or X number of year terms. I honestly don't even know the particulars of all the individual boards from the individual communities, okay? Anything I'm talking about now is this particular board of directors, okay? So those 4 for next year, next March. And again, because for the 2 unincorporated communities, Lexington and Brandywine, Heritage Ridge North will be the lead dog. And the others, we're gonna expect the communities to follow proper protocol. Okay? Any questions respective to that? Okay. The last item for business then is the election of officers for this board. To the best of my knowledge, there were only 1 nomination for each of the office. Is everybody aware of that fact? Is there someone who wants to, you can make nominations.
No, I just didn't know, I was
to
saying
the
I didn't
floor,
know.
from the floor, if somebody is interested in one of the positions, and we'll try to put together a ballot. So right now, the nominations were Tony for treasurer, Carol Ann for secretary, Joe for vice president, and myself for president. Anybody else interested in the job, please raise your hand.
So everybody's agreed to stay?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna,
We could say no.
nobody said no yet.
Okay.
How's that?
Oh, I hear it.
And of course, you gotta vote for them, so you can vote against them,
No, I wouldn't.
please.
Oh,
Okay. I'm just reading these statements because I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to say something. I'm also going to include them in the documentation respective to the election for the 4 officers. I'm going to read this for Carol Ann, and then Carol Ann is going to read them for the rest of us. Okay? They're identical. Okay. Carol Ann Wolf has been nominated for the position of Secretary of Heritage Ridge North. Do any of the board members have any questions?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Okay, Carol Ann, do you have any statements to make to the board?
Yeah, I take my appointment seriously. The minutes that that I do reflects every single thing that has gone on, whether it's negative or positive. I don't play any games, I just put it out there. And nobody's had any objections to them. All the board has an opportunity to vote on them and accept them, and everybody's been fine with them. And I just take it seriously, and I think they're very important. It's a good record, and it's a good government. This is our government, our little government, and we need to do it right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we need to
I
vote.
gave them for you to read, that was.
No, you have to vote on me.
You want all of them?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor of Carol Ann as secretary, please? Aye. Any noes?
Okay.
Congratulations.
Hmm? I'm putting a big U there. Okay, so now it's up to me. So we'll start with Matt. Matt,
No, I'm last.
What?
I said
You
I'm
want to be
last.
last, all right. Tony Head has been nominated for the position of treasurer at Heritage Ridge North. Do any of the board members have any questions for Tony? Tony, do you have any statement you would like to make?
I'm good. Just like Caroline said, take it seriously and appreciate it. And I know I'm a man of few words, so but when I have something to say,
That's true.
All right.
Fine process was talked about and adopted over a year ago now. Again, it was talked here amongst those people who were members of the board at that time. So it is the first time we're utilizing the process, but the process itself has been there. Okay?
Do we have the fine committee in place? I know,
Yes.
we do. Okay,
Yes.
great.
So the fine committee already approved it.
No, the fine committee, let me explain this one more time. The board of directors levies the fine, the details of the fine. Okay?
Fine committee.
The fine committee is an appellate or judiciary committee, a committee of people who are not board members, relatives of board members, who are expected to make an impartial ruling on the fine. They have the right to waive the fine, to dismiss the fine, okay? There is a procedure respective to how it will play out. We would have to call a meeting of the fine committee. Obviously, the person being fined has the right to present their case in front of the fine committee. And then the fine committee, like I said, has the final say. And again, there's the process of there's some time frames. The fine committee can't meet until 14 days after the fine is levied. And then they'll meet. The person being fined can make their case. The fine committee will make a ruling, notify the person being fined of that ruling. And I think the way the statute reads, the person having been fined has up till 5 days to pay the fine. And the fine can be perpetuated. So if we say it's $100 a day or $10 a day, for every day you were in violation, it can reach $1,000. That's the maximum allowed by the statute. Okay, at that point, it's my understanding that the next cause or cause for action would be we could lien the person's house.
Matt, does the clock start after the fine committee
Correct,
meets?
correct. The clock is going to start after the fine process.
How far does the fence go back?
I think I sent pictures of it. You have pictures?
I see it go, looks good.
No, it goes from the edge of the house towards the street. That's it.
From the front.
Heritage, Amherst is a 0 lot line, so you really couldn't put anything going from the house, is the wall of the house, is the property line? Follow me, Kevin?
Yes.
So did we get a second?
Well, are we, everyone,
Any other questions?
everyone on the board satisfied with the discussion? Second, the motion?
All in favor? Aye.
No, wait a second, no.
You want to count?
Yes, I have to have the names.
Let's do the ayes again.
Do the ayes first.
We'll just have the no's. Allison, no?
Okay,
And Joe seconded.
we have a second thing, respective to fines. I got a call from Bob Soldolte, who's the president from, Williamsburg yesterday. They've apparently, and he and I've talked a little bit about this. It is last minute, if the board doesn't wanna hear it, we can table it, but I told him I'd try to get it on the agenda. Anybody have an objection? Okay, this is respect to a situation, in Williamsburg regarding an individual who apparently has dismissed, the leadership in Williamsburg respective to, go ahead, Kevin, you can explain it better than I.
Well, you can, you can rent your unit once a year or once a season for 3 months minimum, 4 months maximum. So we found out, and the guidelines of doing that is you're subject to, now who pays that, whether the renter pays you or how you do that. Our community needs $200 you're gonna rent for the season. And this fella's failed to do that for the last 3 years. Unknown to us, like, we have parking passes, well, somehow he got an illegal parking pass. So it slipped through that way. And he never uses our community pool, they use the big pool, so we don't really see them. So we've tried to talk to them numerous times, sent them emails, and told them about it. All they want to do violates. We showed that to them, but they're not responding to us. This has been going on for, well, it's in we have it spelled out in the letter. I think in October of 2022.
Have they violated the one time?
And included in that, we also have a background check. Background check is $50 or something like that.
They're notifying you that they're renting it?
No.
And they're not notifying us?
No.
That they're renting it either? And so that's supposed to go through the
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. So
Again,
it's more than just the $200 then, it's the notification
Yeah,
process.
we're not fining somebody because they didn't pay a fee, we're fining them for failure to follow an established covenant.
And it's the owner that's getting fined.
Correct.
It's the owner.
Yes.
We're having similar situations with trucks in Yorktown.
Yeah,
And that we've basically been told.
and that's why we've established the whole process.
Yeah.
To have another tool in the box, so to speak.
Mhm. I
We're
think
not trying
that's-
to raise money, we're trying to get people to adhere to the covenants that are established.
I think that'll be our next
Yeah,
step,
I
to
mean,
bring it forward.
you know, one of the things that I'd like to point out, and I think I've said this before, every single one of us, when we moved into Heritage Ridge, signed a document, and I can pull them out for everybody, unless you really never told us you live here. It basically says that you agree to abide by the rules and regulations that have been established. Period. For somebody to come in, I've had people say this to me, I've had them say it at the annual meeting, well, that's a stupid rule, and that's why I won't follow it. Well, it might be a stupid rule, but it's the rule.
And
Go live
And you
somewhere
agreed
else.
to follow.
Exactly.
And it wasn't stupid when you wanted to move in, it's only stupid when you don't want to adhere to it. And that, to me, in many cases, is the heart of a lot of what we try to do here. I mean, as far as my concern, my role here, I'm constantly listening to people's complaints, or whatever you wanna call them, and it has to do with following the rules, you know? So, you know, again, the whole fine thing is just that another. Okay, however, the only communities that Heritage Ridge North is the principal board, Anyone in Lexington would, and that's because we're not incorporated, we don't have any rules other than in the Master Declaration of Heritage Ridge North. I'm gonna say every incorporated community in Heritage Ridge North has much more specific guidelines respective to the architect's review process. And it is my expectation that those individual communities adhere to their own guidelines. If it says that your mailboxes all have to match, Heritage Ridge North doesn't much care, but you, from your individual community, needs to care. Okay? So the oversight is basically just that. We want to know that the individual communities are doing what's right for them. And then after that, from my standpoint, it's more of a clerical thing. We just want to keep a record of what's going on. Had discussions too, because obviously when we look at some of the buildings, they're multi-family buildings, and the individual homeowner isn't making exterior improvements. And that, of course, is what we're really talking about. Making improvement to the inside of your house. First of all, we don't know if you're doing it. I don't think anybody knows, and I don't think for the most part anybody cares. But and I've been to some meetings in the course of the last month or so, the annual meetings for different communities, and I know there is some confusion amongst the homeowners respective to what am I responsible for, what am I not responsible for, what in both in terms of maintenance as well as insurance and some other things. Again, that I am never, in Heritage Ridge North, should never interfere with the architect review process of the individual communities. However, we expect the individual communities to see to it that their rules and regulations are abided by, and to an extent. Yeah.
When we talked about it last.
Yep.
Like in my neighborhood, I live in Charleston, so it's a condo community.
Yep.
We're not doing major external things individually, but we will change our doors and so I understood that, and I shared it with my community, that we would have to get Heritage Ridge North approval for something like that. Do we have to wait for that signature to get going with our contractor?
No, first of all, here's the thing. If you do your due diligence.
Yep.
And when we talk about the application, the architecture review process, we're basically saying we want to see that. We want to see the community's approval.
Okay.
We want to see that proper permits are in hand.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that the contractor, if there is one involved, is insured and licensed and is going to do what they're capable of doing.
Okay.
That's where the oversight comes in, if you
Okay.
will. If you're signing off that you're putting new windows in,
Yep.
and you have the package of information.
Yep. And
you know,
Charleston
it's-
has approved.
Right, it's gonna literally take moments, if you will,
Okay.
to sign off on
Okay. So we
Okay.
would need to wait.
it. You know,
For
no,
the
no, 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 no. Well,
Okay.
it should be, if you're gonna put the kind of work you're talking about on,
Yep.
you're gonna know you're gonna do it weeks before you actually do it.
Right.
It's not like in the last minute you're gonna say, oh, by the way, Matt, we're doing this.
Mhm.
You know, so there's not gonna be a holdup. I
Okay.
can't imagine there being a holdup,
Okay.
you know? And I think you said this, and I think this is something Al was doing to make
The-
fun of me, to send me his thing about routine maintenance on shrubs.
No, that was a real thing.
I
Yeah.
think I
Because
get
we
what
didn't
you're
know,
saying.
like, we,
No, I get
it's
that. And
exterior, right?
and
We were
that's why I
doing our
wanna
shrubs,
explain-
so we put that through as thinking,
No, and
he
I-
said, I don't know if
Yeah,
this is
no.
a thing. I said, well, it's exterior, I think it's a thing. So we put it through, and then you said, no, it's not a thing, so we were okay. And then you
I don't think this board or the office of Heritage Ridge North is concerned about when you're gonna trim your shrubs. You know, that's not it. I mean, at best, or worst, however you wanna refer to it, if you were gonna, you know, you got a pretty expensive, as I understand it, palm tree right at your entrance. If you wanted to start whacking that out and replace it, you know, probably a good idea to bring it to our attention. And I say this too sometimes because things happen in your community that people who live down the road are saying, oh, what's that all about? What's that all
Like,
about?
like
And it's nice to have an
sure.
answer for that, you know, and that's really what we're all talking about here.
Yeah.
Not to try to be, you know,
We just wanna make sure we're doing
Yeah,
the
no, I
right
get it.
thing
I
and
get it.
submitting the, you know,
Yeah.
the stuff we were supposed to
And I
submit.
think I said in the communication too, I'll be happy to sit down with anybody
Yeah.
and try to explain it in better detail.
Okay,
But the better detail, when it's all said and done, is your detail.
okay,
Because your community's requirements are gonna be much more specific. Heritage Ridges are really quite vague. You know, we don't offer there's not a lot of meat on those bones. It's just like a basic, you gotta have this approved, you gotta have that approved kind of a thing, you know? We don't stipulate a whole lot. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 7, Paul.
Yeah, Paul from Amherst, I'm gonna read the motion, as written in the ledger here. I make a motion to vote to levy a fine of number 6251 Southeast Ames Way, Sound, Florida, and supporting documentation to Heritage Ridge North by January 31st, 2023 for the architectural review as voted on January 17th, 2023 board meeting, unanimously approved.
So what we're basically looking for was, the resolution's basically stipulating that, we are going to, levy a fine against her. We will, do so in accordance with, the Florida statute. And it is up to the board to vote on whether or not to adopt this motion or not.
So I made the motion. Do we have a second?
Just trying to,
Do we need discussion?
yes.
Yeah, does anyone have any comment before we move on the motion?
Did everyone receive the email that I received?
No.
No?
Well, yeah, of course, if they didn't receive it, they may not know what you're talking
Oh, well, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
That's all.
about. But if
I received it, so I was wondering if everyone else received it as well.
but the discussion now was whether we find or not. Shouldn't really, whatever that means.
If anybody wants to take
It's a
that
fair
into
question.
consideration in making their motion, I know there was an email forwarded. I did not receive it either.
No?
If you have and that influences any decision, please take that into consideration. The reality of it is, we did request, and we did forward the request, to Lee Cobb. She did resubmit an application. It was incomplete. It was returned to her as being incomplete. I heard nothing else from her. The fence still remains. So we're at a impasse, I guess. We talked about the fine, committee, the fine process last, month. We've talked about it in the past, the actual fine, committee.